The Seine and Marne region east of Paris is the home of one of the oldest and most important of all French cheeses. The recipe for this cheese originally arrived here during the 5th century with Irish monks, and it later became a big hit with the court of King Charlemagne. Ever since then, it's been known as the King of Cheese. Its name, of course, is Brie. This classic benchmark is one of the oldest and most distinguished cheeses of France, and the ancestor of all soft surface mould ripened cheeses produced today. The flat dish-shaped fromage de Brie were originally produced in various sizes on hundreds of small farms in the fertile plains of the Seine and Marne region east of Paris. And each took their name from the local village or town where they were matured. After a long and illustrious history, Brie has been indiscriminately copied all over the world, so it's perhaps not surprising that today production of authentic Brie from Brie has fallen below that of a century ago. It wasn't until 1980 that French appellation controls acknowledged the threat and officially recognised 2 types of authentic Brie, Brie de Melun and Brie de Meaux. Brie de Melun is the oldest of the 2 and is now produced in just 6 dairies, 2 of which are farmhouse, whilst its larger and much more popular cousin Brie de Meaux is produced by 7 dairies, but today only 3 are based in the original Seine and Marne region. I'm on my way to visit a small dairy about 50 minutes from Paris. It's owned by Baron Rothschild, and it's the last place that still makes Brie de Meaux fermier, which means cheese made on the farm with milk from the farm. Fresh raw milk collected from the farm's herd of 220 contented cows is used to make just over 100 cheeses a day. And the small model dairy closely follows traditional time-honoured techniques for making Brie de Meaux, including the use of natural reed mats to drain the curd.
The farm here belongs to a banker from the Rothschild family. Edmond Rothschild insisted on keeping farming and agricultural activities on the family property to revive the farmhouse production of Brie de Meaux, because all the farmhouse producers have disappeared over the years, particularly given to the health regulations that had appeared after the war. So we are currently the only farmhouse producers of Brie de Meaux in the AOC.
The starting point for making all Brie de Meaux is good quality fresh raw milk. After coagulation with animal rennet, the curds are gently cut and carefully placed into hoops using a specially designed ladle. And this is a really important part of the process. It's known as a mould à la louche. After the mats have been splashed with liquid whey, the process of mould à la louche is all about ensuring that the curds hold together, hold their moisture, which is very important in ensuring the flavour of the eventual cheese. The tradition of draining Brie on mats made from local river reeds dates back centuries.
So we use a straw every day. We change them, we wash them, we alternate, meaning that every second day they are taken down, washed and put back. We constantly rotate them like that, so that there is always clean straw. So for each draining, we put down clean reeds, we sterilize them, wash them, disinfect them and roast them the next day. Because in order to have good quality cheese and for it to maintain itself very well, we need to use very clean reeds.
Ile de France avec plastic?
Plastic sticks. Reeds like this don't stick. It's easier to clean, and because it has a vegetable base, it's much better for the cheese.
One of the fascinating things about cheese making is how much milk is required to make a cheese. It takes 30 litres of milk to make a Brie. And these cheeses will drain over the next 24 hours until they weigh around 3 kilos. Once removed from their hoops, the naked wheels of curd are lightly salted and inoculated with moulds. These will gradually bloom on the surface of the cheese over the next few weeks in temperature and humidity controlled rooms. The moulds are a combination of natural geotrichum in the raw milk and Penicillium candidum, and are responsible for slowly transforming the chalky interior into a soft, creamy paste. AOC regulations require the cheese to be matured in the region for at least 28 days, and during this period each wheel is turned by hand almost every day. For a long time, Brie was known as the King's cheese because of its popularity with the French court. And in a strange twist of fate, it was the royal fondness for Brie that ultimately had fatal consequences for the French monarchy. When Louis XVI fled the revolutionary turmoil of Paris in 1791, he stopped for a meal near the town of Varennes and insisted on finishing it with Brie. The delay apparently gave his pursuers time to catch up and arrest him, and later return him to Paris for trial and execution. Despite this setback, Brie continued its royal association long after the Revolution, when it was named Prince of Cheese at the Treaty of Versailles, a title quickly altered by the proud French to King of Cheese. One of my oldest friends in the Brie business is the Recordist family, who are based in the pretty old town of Tournan-en-Brie. They've built a formidable reputation for traditional Brie over 3 generations, and originally started as Affineurs, specialising in maturing young cheese collected from small farm dairies in the countryside nearby. As the local farms slowly disappeared under the growing sprawl of Paris, the family were obliged to begin making their own cheese to stay in business. Today they produce both traditional AOC Bries and a range of innovative mould-ripened cheeses. But before trying these, I was keen to see what they had to say about Brie de Melun. Whoa! This is the Brie de Melun?
Yes, this is a Brie de Melun cellar.
Oh, the smell in here is totally different.
Yes. Here we are very old Brie de Melun, okay? This is the oldest Brie that we have. Brie de Melun is a very, very specific cheese because the area of production is very, very narrow. In the heart of the Brie area in Seine-et-Marne, okay? Around Melun and Meaux. So we collect every day the milk and we produce cheese exclusively made with this milk. To produce a Brie de Melun, we need almost 1 week because it's a very humid product. Due to the way we produce the cheese, okay, we put whey plus curds, and for Brie de Meaux, it's not the same thing because with a ladle, to produce a Brie de Meaux, you have a hole inside, so we don't put a lot of whey inside the mold. For this cheese, we put a lot of whey. So it's very humid, so we need more time to produce the cheese.
For the cheese to drain?
Yes, yes. Yeah. And after we have the ripening, which is very important also, and it's longer also than for Brie de Meaux.
Even longer, because Brie de Meaux is what, 2 months?
Yes.
So how long does this take?
3.
3 months?
Yes.
It's always nice to soak up the infectious enthusiasm of the Recordist team and sample their new and unusual ideas.
This is a fougereux, 250 grams. Yeah. We had inside a special mix made with AOC fresh cream, mascarpone
from Italy,
and black truffles
from
France,
south
of France. Yes.
Is putting truffles in Brie a traditional thing?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay.
We wanted to use this very traditional product, okay, because we are in the heart of Brie area, and to propose some things new. Sampling new cheese is always interesting, but in my opinion, it's very hard to beat the intoxicating aroma of wild mushrooms and truffles that wafts from a well-ripened Brie de Meaux. And I think the
flavour oozing from beneath the rind is quite irresistible. I love the traditional cheese, but I think it's important to always be looking at the different ways to make cheese too, different things to do with cheese. And of course you have triple cream, Coulommiers, Brie Nangy, they have some pasteurised versions. Wow, what a family. Brie is recognised as the granddaddy of all French surface mould ripened cheeses. And one of its closest cousins is this cheese. It comes from the village of Chaource, about 2 hours' drive southeast of Paris. It has a completely different shape and a fascinating history. Chaource takes its name from a small village in the Champagne region, and it dates back to the monasteries and abbey established nearby during the 11th century. The method used to make these small drum-shaped cheeses is closely related to Brie de Melun and the washed rind cheese Époisse. This ancient technique involves forming the curds with a gentle overnight ripening method that uses very little rennet and results in a moist, slightly stodgy young curd for surface ripening. I was surprised to find an extraordinary cheese museum in the village, and it seemed almost too good an opportunity not to ask its creator about his views on this classic local benchmark.
Let me tell you the story of Chaource. It was made at a certain time by the farmers of Chaource, and it then obtained an AOC, Appellation d'origine contrôlée, which would have been around the 1970s. Well, now there is a demarcated perimeter, which represents 7 counties of the district of Aude and 7 counties of the district of Yonne. So there you have it. The AOC zone goes until the town of Sens in the district of Yonne.
The Lincet family have been making Chaource for over 5 generations and were largely responsible for ensuring its survival when almost all the farm dairies in the region disappeared after World War II. These days, Lincet has become a leading producer of Chaource, which has been recognised under AOC regulations since 1970. I was also fascinated to learn how Didier had adapted the technique for making Chaource to a sensational range of modern triple cream cheeses, including the Lys de Bourgogne and the fluffy Brillat Savarin.
We are making other products, but it's the same technical process. It's a lactic coagulation of the milk during 14 days, 14 hours. So here you have Brillat Savarin and Chaource, and you have Lys de Bourgogne here.
Lovely smell. What's that smell? Apples.
Apple. Yes, apple.
Delicious.
Yes. The cheese stayed for 2 weeks in these rooms, and you have the penicillium, which is growing, and on the rind.
So it's a surface ripened cheese with penicillium candida or white mould on the outside.
Yeah, we have a penicillium candida, but we have 2 geotrichum, which develop some special smells on the cheese during the maturation.
Yeah. What I love about this is this. When you touch it, you can just see that. It's like velvet. This mould grows just in the right temperature and right humidity. What's the temperature in here?
Temperature here is 9 degrees.
And the humidity?
Humidity about 90.
Just perfect. Growing little mushrooms on the top.
Yes.
Despite their size, the Lincet company still encouraged the local tradition of making fermier Chaource. To demonstrate the Lincet family's commitment to the survival of Chaource, Didier kindly offered to take me to a small dairy, the first to revive the tradition of making this benchmark on the farm using only raw milk. Chaource slowly develops a thick coating of mould over 2 to 4 weeks. And what was interesting about this farm cheese was the mould was much more complex than its industrial
Alors ici on a le
counterpart.
petit Chaource.
So here we have the small Chaource and the big Chaource, which can start to be sold.
C'est la même âge.
Yes, they have exactly the same age. Well, they are 2 days apart. You can see that the covering is complete and they can be consumed like that. But the best thing is to age them another few weeks so as to make them taste even better. We've always tried to respect raw milk cheese, using of course full cream milk. Even though our factory is very modern, because of hygiene regulations, we try to have this traditional cheese mindset. So we work with the milk of our cows immediately after milking, and then we try to keep all the flavors and the natural aspects of milk right until the end, until the finished product, until the Chaource is ready to be consumed.
This beautiful region is famous for champagne, so it was really no surprise to discover that the local cheese makes a great match.
La croûte a pris beaucoup de...
The crust has taken on a certain fullness. It's quite strong in flavor. Inside, the part under the crust, the proteolysis, has taken over a little bit of the inside. The body of the cheese is quite firm. It's quite an aged cheese. But here, the tasting falls a bit short because it's still a little too cold to express all of the taste.
Very good.
The champagne has a note of lactic acidity in the taste.
So the marriage is
The marriage is very good.
very much. Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
One reason why Brie was so successful in the Paris markets was because of a system of maturation called affinage. Young cheeses were collected from France in the Ile de France region and put into brick cellars by people called affineurs. They were then placed in the market of Paris at their optimum condition. These days, all the farms have disappeared, but affineurs collect their cheeses from all over France. The Pays-Rouennais region in south-central France is famous for its red wines, its Charolais beef and its beautiful countryside. But I've come here for a much more important reason. It's also the home of Herves Mons, who is known as France's greatest affineur.
Hervé is the son of an affineur. His father started the business with his mom about 30 years ago. They came from Auvergne and they moved to Roanne and they were selling Auvergne cheeses on local markets. And they built caves on the Côte Rouennaise, and the Hervé's dad built 3 different caves, and that's where they started aging the cheeses. And then Hervé started working with them. Working first on local markets, he had to sell the cheeses. He went all over France, touring different shops with different cheesemakers, and then he took over the aging facilities. And but the caves have been going on now for 30 years.
The roof of the caves, okay, 4 meters of the depth.
4 meters?
Yes.
4 meters of earth?
Yeah. And here, under this rock, okay, is a one here, okay. And when you see, just here, right, okay, a lot of humidity, okay, because sous le sol ici, il y a de l'eau partout.
Under the ground here, there's water everywhere.
So this cave is completely natural humidity.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, and another system is very important. This is ventilation. For example, Morbier, for example, Ossoirati, for example, Abondance. Okay, a lot of gas because the carbonic gas, ammoniac gas. Okay, donc it's very important to change the air inside, but very, very slowly, because when you change very quickly, a lot of humidity extract with the air, and that's a big problem with the rind of the cheese. And I have a system when it's possible here to extract 400 meters cubes by minute. It's very important because when sometimes you have a lot of cheese here, that's a very quickly mature cheese.
So one of the secrets of being a good affineur is to have a really good sense of smell.
Exactly. That's the first priority.
Herves has received many prestigious awards, and he specialises in an extraordinary range of hard-to-find cheeses selected from all over France. But it's no surprise, considering his background, that some of his favourites are the traditional cheeses of Auvergne, including Salaise and Saint-Nectaire, made using the milk of the very rare Salaise cow.
You like taste?
Yes, please. They smell marvellous.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we get from the tunnel.
I think you know, if he can't make the world's greatest Saint-Nectaire, who can?
Yeah.
I should say mature.
Very important to a past is very soft. Okay? Because to start, normally the family of the cheese is semi-hard.
Yeah.
Okay? The past inside is creamous.
Yeah. It's party time in my mouth. Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Just a kaleidoscope of flavours.
For me, it's very important to two different sensations in the mouth. A little salt, acidity, and after, it's very important to a second emotion with flour, creamies.
Yeah.
For me, it's very good because that's some of little nuts. C'est ça? Okay.
Herves also ages a special selection of cheese in a disused railway tunnel. And of course, I jumped at the chance to take a ride in his vintage Renault truck to see it firsthand. The team at Herves Mons select and mature more than 250 varieties of cheese from small farmhouse and artisan producers across France. And after a day with this experienced affineur, I really can't wait to come back and learn more. His knowledge and empathy for the great traditions of French cheese is absolutely inspiring, and his passion for quality and flavour is contagious. Before leaving, I asked Herves for his advice on looking after cheese, because there doesn't seem to be much point in selecting a maturing cheese to its optimum unless it's looked after properly once you get it home.
It's not possible for you to have a cellar in the house, right? The best way and the best means of keeping cheese is to eat it. Because we, cheesemakers, stand apart, we have everything necessary. At the consumer's house, there is a small fridge. But that said, once he's bought the cheese, if he keeps it in a small box and takes it out of its little box like a secret, he will have a very good means of keeping cheese.
Pascal Beillevaire is an affineur and maître fromagère who has had a very significant influence on ensuring the survival of traditional French cheese. Based at Nantes in the Pays de Loire region, he manages more than 20 cheese shops, including 11 in Paris, and also runs a large fleet of mobile cheese vans which operate in more than 70 outdoor markets. To help translate, I've been joined by my friend Antoine, a well-respected cheese expert.
So the job of the affineurs is to fit the request of any kind of consumers. So their job is first to understand what the consumer wants to eat, and you have consumers who wants to eat hard cheeses, very tasty cheeses, soft cheeses, any kind of consumer, and then their job is to be in a position to offer any kind with the same cheese in the beginning. They can have different types of ripening, bringing to different types of tastes, fitting different tastes for different consumers.
In order to supply his shops and mobile vans, Pascal needs large quantities of cheese, and his base is equipped with a series of purpose-built rooms where cheeses are carefully prepared before distribution. One question I'm always being asked is, how do you choose cheeses for a cheese platter? So I thought I'd ask Pascal for his advice.
They un nombre impair, des familles différentes.
Always an odd number of cheese from different families, with different stages of aging as well. So here we have a platter, which is rather well done, with a goat cheese that is quite young. And like this, we have a little for all taste. We have a platter that, well, let's say that there is greater chance of suiting a maximum number of customers' taste. And on top of that, we try to respect the basic rule of always having an odd number of cheeses on a plater.
Merci beaucoup.
Voilà.
Whilst the traditional farm cheeses of the Brie region may have almost disappeared, I still find it fascinating to contemplate how they've changed history and how their legacy lives on. The technique of ripening soft, disc-shaped cheese under a surface mould was responsible for the creation of that great symbol of the Republic of France, Normandy Camembert, some 1,000 years after King Charlemagne discovered Brie. Of course, the technique now has been copied in many other parts of the world with mixed results. One thing that hasn't changed over the centuries is the important role of the Affineur. And if ever you're lucky enough to taste a carefully selected and ripened cheese, I'm sure you'll agree the difference is well worth looking out for.
And which shops would you recommend? Or are you going to have a look at?
Oh, the traditional fishmongers.
Fishmongers?
Fishmongers, sorry. Cheesemongers. Forgetting my English. Fishmonger, what is it?
Cheese slices.